Hey everybody, this is Cody Smith, and today I'm going to demonstrate a simple 2D platform Unity game using C Sharp. So I wrote this over the past week or so. It's a pretty simple process. So let me just share my screen, we'll get going. So basically to start off, Unity is a really excellent platform to build video games, and it takes a little while to get the hang of initially. But once you get the hang of it, it just flows so much easier. And so I'm going to describe some of those features and also just explain how the game works. First off, I'll just play it and we'll run through, see how it goes. All right, so as you can see, we have our little health bar here at the top. We have our animations such as walking, jumping, and you can hear little sound effects. And we have our attacks. And so right here, we can see we have a little trap, which is an arrow. And then when you make contact with the arrow, it damages you. And you can also go pick up collectibles. So you can go pick up extra hearts. We also have a patrolling enemy. I'm gonna wait for him to turn around. So you can see once he is in front of you, then he damages you. And then you can also use your sword to damage him, and you can get more health. And we also have this saw right here. This saw is a moving object, also does damage. You run into it, you can see. And then we have our fire trap here. Now this one is a trap that has a time delay. So when you make contact with it, it has a couple second delay until it activates. You can see it activates a flame, you make contact with the flame, then it hurts you. Now, since I only have one heart left, I better be careful with this one. But this is a spike head object. Basically, when you come underneath it, it slams down. And then it follows you around from that point. So if I go underneath it, you see it drops, and then it'll follow me. And then once you die, that eliminates all of your hearts, and that's it. There are some features that I still would like to add. As I said, I've been working in it over the course of about a week or so. And so some features I'd like to add: when you come to a checkpoint or when you die, it would end the game loop and go back to some type of initial screen, like a start screen, something like that. The research I've done, that's pretty simple. And also, like I said, I like to have checkpoints, bonus rooms, collectibles to boost your score, and possibly add some extra enemies. So I guess next, let's just kind of go over a little bit of the scripting in the game. So basically, the way Unity works is you build your characters and your animations, all the things like that you would like. You can do that directly in Unity. And then you can also attach C# scripts to different items. And so we have a ton of different scripts, probably not a whole lot of time to go through all of them, but I'd like to just demonstrate some. So first off, we have our player attack method. All of these serialized fields, those are, actually, it's just easier if I show you. So a serialized field is all these things in Unity that you can edit. So you can drag and drop things in. For example, the speed, I can change the enemy speed. If I increase that to 3, enemy will start moving across the screen faster. And so these are all variables right here that you can edit directly in Unity. And so then we have our animator, we have our player move. So all of these are just variables that we'll be able to access later on. We have our awake method, which is a pretty common theme throughout all of the scripts. Basically, the awake method is just as soon as the game is initialized, you want to, that's when it takes care of things directly when it's been initialized. So for example, if I wanted to play a sound right when it was initialized, I could put the code in there in the awake method. And as soon as you start the game, then it would play the sound. And in this awake method, we just declare variables for the different components. So I assign a variable to my animator, to my player move script, which is another C# script. And then the enemy health, I set that to the component health, which is a health script that I have that tweaks the health of the characters. The reason it's called enemy health in this one is the only one we're going to adjust, the only health value we're going to adjust in this script is the enemies. So basically you have your attack method says if the mouse button is down and 0 is the left button, you're going to play a sound, and then you're going to set the trigger, which is just the animation. So that it'll trigger the attack animation, and it'll set your cooldown to 0. Over here, this is where it handles some of the collision items. And so basically this overlap circle all, it creates a box, or I guess in this case, it's a circle that will inflict damage. So instead of it being directly in the center of the player, the circle moves over to where you want to be attacking from, and then does the damage from that range. So I have mine at the tip of my character's sword. So when the animation swings through, as soon as the sword makes contact, that's where it'll cause damage. And then this for loop is just going through everything, all the collisions within that range. It's going to add it's going to get the component from health that is take damage, which is a method to remove health and apply that to enemies. And then we also have on draw gizmo selected, basically that just shows you that range. It shows you that circle that you can edit. And since there's a few things that apply to the health in this one, that's one script I kind of want to go over as well. There it is. So the health one is another one that's pretty extensive. We have various different serialized fields and things like that to edit. We have things such as your health, iframes, which I wouldn't have a ton of time to cover, our components, and our sounds. So when you awake it, you want to set your current health to your starting health, which by default, oh, that's a serialized field. So you'll set the current health of the player to the starting health, and then you'll initialize the animator and the sprite renderer, which is just, it'll help to, basically what it does is it takes in an image and applies that to the character so you can render that for the sprite. This is the take damage method, which we were doing. So basically a very brief and succinct description. You take the current health and you subtract that by the total number of damage. As you saw in the other method, we were applying in take damage, we're putting 1, and you can also do that in a different way to where that damage variable can be more manipulated. And then you go to, and then the next if statement is you say if the current health is greater than 0, so you're checking if the player is still alive, whether it be the player or the enemy, you're going to set a trigger for the animation that is hurt. And so I have a hurt animation and a death animation. And then this start coroutine invulnerability, I have a method called invulnerability, and basically what it does is it just makes the player invisible, makes them untouchable for a certain amount of time. And then you're going to play the hurt clip. So if the health happens to be less than 0, then you're going to check if they are not dead. Then if they're not already dead, then you want to set the trigger to the dying animation. And then for each behavior component in components, component.enabled equals false. Basically, that just eliminates the player from the screen. It just makes it so that they can't do anything. All the components that they use are gone. And then you set the variable dead equal to true, and you play the death clip. We also have our add health, which is very simple. Basically, you just you give it a value, and then it's the same thing as taking damage. You're just adding it instead. And so those are a couple of things. It's a very extensive platform. And like I said, it's really simple to, once you pick it up, it's really simple to implement. And so a few of the things I will be adding is I'll be adding checkpoints, save points, and a loading screen. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Thank you.